Ina mana, ina reo, I roa ringa te rama, tina te mihi mahana ki e koutou katoa. I whanau mai au ki kapara, ko mga taroto toko wahi praenga e na puki. Tai whanau e pāmu, na hou ana ahau, ko Grant McCallum ahau, tinu hamare, ko ahau, tinu mema paramata mō tita takara. O reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Well, back in I've talked to you before about my involvement with the Blue Greens. Back in 1998, the Honourable Nick Smith, the Right Honourable Simon Upton and Sir Rob Fenwick founded the Blue Greens. They were determined to show that environmental issues are too important to be left to the fringe of politics and should be a mainstream issue for all Kiwis. That New Zealand's environment and our national heritage, our soils, our oceans, and the imagery that surrounds our biodiversity and wilderness holds the key to our nation's future prosperity. I call that nature's capital. They also recognise the need for an independent band of environmentally conscious people within the party I represent, the National Party, who recognise that sustainable development is the way to prosperity. The blue-green approach is underpinned by 5 key principles. Resource use must be based on sustainability. Economic growth and improving the environment can and must go hand in hand. Good science is essential to quality environmental decision making. People respond best to change when engaged and given incentives. And boy, this room is really a true test of that. Kiwis have a unique birthright to access and enjoy our special places. Just remember, those principles were written in 1998, and over a quarter of a century later, they still serve and guide the organisation well. National has a proud legacy in the environmental space. It includes taking New Zealand from generating 65 to 85% renewable energy. We established the Land and Water Forum to strengthen monitoring, compliance and enforcement. Meanwhile, we achieved more to improve water quality by collaboration under the John Key government than the Labour and the Greens did with their very confrontational approach. We established Predator-Free 2050, Battle for Our Birds and the War on Weeds. We established 5 of New Zealand's 13 national parks, created 11 new marine reserves. The last one, I believe, is the one just out here in Ackrow Harbour, which was created by Nick Smith, and I'll never forget the photo op. This is typical Nick Smith photo opportunities. He was legendary for them. He was very wary when Nick took you on a photo op, because he got himself and Amy Adams in a wetsuit. And it would be fair to say both of them had enjoyed dining whilst they were in Parliament, and the wetsuits were not flattering. And Amy was very upset when I pointed that out to her. So yes, but that was it's very difficult to establish marine reserves, as we know. One of the proudest ones actually is the Poor Knights up in Northland. I think it's a great example of what can be achieved. We developed and funded a threatened species strategy to ensure our native species flourish. We funded a Kiwi recovery program whose aim is to have 100,000 wild Kiwis by 2030. We helped tackle carry dieback with funding of close to $22 million. And we set up the Environment Protection Agency in 2009. We also led the formation of the Global Research Alliance for Methane Reduction and ratified the Paris Accord. So what's next? This for me is the key. The ultimate challenge, I feel, is to achieve sustainability. So what is sustainability? In 1987, the United Nations Brundtland Commission defined sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Say that again, because I really think it's a really cool definition. Meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainability usually has 3 dimensions: environmental, economic, and social. In New Zealand, I'll add a 4th, cultural. For a long time in New Zealand, economic and social overrode the environmental. This was hardly surprising, given we were a young nation, looking to establish itself as a first world economy. So we cleared the mighty kauri forests, mined for gold, and cleared the land so we could create grassland to feed the growing animal production systems. Some of the earliest environmental pushback came from Frost and Burton, which was formally established in 1923. A key tipping point was the campaign between 1969 and 72 to prevent the raising the level of Lake Manapuri. It attracted 265,000 signatures, which, given the population in 1972 was 2.9 million, showed you how big that issue was. It was a massive campaign. Then there was Fisherman's Dirty Dairying campaign, which was launched in 2002. This came on the back of the explosion of dairy conversions in the 90s and 2000s. Fish and Game were right to highlight the issue. As a dairy farmer, I acknowledge this. The environment was elevated as a concern to the point where some felt it was superseding economic, social, and cultural outcomes. So the needs of the present were struggling to be met. The rural sector in particular was vilified. As a farmer, I feel this went too far. The farming community, as it had through history, though, took up the challenge. We fenced off waterways, invested in smarter irrigation technology, built wetlands, formed catchment groups, as we see here today, and to date have put over 200,000 hectares in the QE2 Trust. And to put that in perspective, that makes it the second biggest national park in the country. So that's a massive effort. That's all on private land for private landowners. So is there more to do to achieve the right balance? Absolutely. So where is the right balance? What are the environmental, economic, social and cultural outcomes we can all live with? I suspect we will never get complete agreement on this, but we must try. It is only through honest, frank and informed discussion that we'll get closer to a consensus we can all live with. Just remember, perfect is the enemy of progress. So let's focus on making progress for nature, for the economy and the people who live in New Zealand. After all, nature is our true capital. Nā reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Thank you.